Hey everyone! Welcome back to Easy English Conversation, your daily companion for English and life. I'm Sophia.
And I'm James. So glad you're here with us today.
All right, James, before we get into today's topic, I have a feeling you have a story for this one.
Oh no. How do you know that?
Because I know you.
Okay. So, Tuesday morning, I'm at this coffee shop. Not my usual one, a new place. And I'm waiting for my order, and there's this guy next to me, also waiting. We're standing maybe half a meter apart. Complete silence. And he's wearing this incredible jacket, like genuinely cool. And in my head, I go, just say something. Just say, hey, cool jacket. 3 words. You can do 3 words.
3 very manageable words.
Very manageable. So I take a breath, I open my mouth slightly, and then nothing. I just stood there, smiling at the wall like it owed me money.
So you just stood there like a friendly statue?
A friendly statue with excellent taste in jackets. Yes. And then my coffee came, his coffee came, and we both walked away in complete silence. And I spent the rest of the morning thinking about all the things I could have said.
The classic ghost conversation. The one that only happens in your head 20 minutes later.
Exactly. And by the time I was in the car, I had a whole opening line, a joke, a smooth exit, perfect conversation. Delivered beautifully to absolutely nobody.
You know what's funny? I think almost everyone listening right now has a version of this moment. Maybe not with a jacket. Maybe in an elevator, in a waiting room, at the gym. You're standing next to someone, the moment is right there, and you just let it pass.
And later you think, why didn't I just say something? It was so easy.
So that's what today's episode is about. Why talking to strangers feels so hard, even when it looks so simple. And what actually happens when you decide to say something anyway.
And this is a B1 level episode. So if you're intermediate, this is perfect for you. If you're closer to A2, don't worry, just stay with us. You don't have to catch every word. Your brain is already doing the work just by listening.
And if you like learning English through honest, funny, real conversations, please hit subscribe and tap like on this episode. It really does help more people find us.
And we have a question for you today. When was the last time you talked to a stranger and something good came out of it? Or when did you almost talk to someone but stayed quiet? Tell us that story in the comments.
All right, take a breath and let's jump in.
So maybe we should start with the obvious question. Why is this so hard? It's just talking. We talk every day.
Right, you talk to your friends, your family, people at work, but the moment it's a stranger, something changes inside.
Something big changes. And I think most people don't realize how much is happening in their head in those few seconds before they decide not to speak.
Walk me through it. What actually goes on?
Okay, picture this. You're in an elevator, just you and one other person. And it's quiet. Not peaceful quiet, the other kind. That heavy, uncomfortable silence where you're both staring at the doors like they're the most fascinating thing in the world.
That kind of silence has a perfect word. It's awkward. When something is awkward, it means it's uncomfortable in a social way. Like nobody knows what to do and everyone can feel it.
Maybe you know this exact silence. You're standing there and you can almost feel the air getting thicker. And the worst part, you both know it's awkward.
And what does your brain do in that moment?
It starts rehearsing. I think of something to say, I test it in my head, I change it, I test it again. Nice weather today, right? No, too boring. Going up? We're clearly going up, James, I say to myself. Long day? What if they say no and just stare at me?
So you're basically holding auditions for a sentence.
Full auditions, callbacks, and everything. And by the time I pick one, the elevator opens and the person walks away. The winning sentence never even got to perform.
And then comes the replay. You walk to your car and suddenly you're confident, smooth. You say the perfect thing. They laugh, you're best friends. A full movie in your head, directed and starring you.
Audience, 0. And you feel this weird mix. Relieved because nothing bad happened, but frustrated like you failed a test you gave yourself.
I see this from the other side sometimes, actually. You're in a line somewhere, and you can tell the person next to you is working up to something. They glance at you, shift their weight, take a breath, and then nothing. And it's actually kind of sweet. You can tell they wanted to connect, but couldn't cross that little invisible line.
And that line feels so much bigger than it is, because the real fear isn't the sentence. The real fear is, what if I say it and it comes out wrong? What if I stumble over my words?
When you say stumble over your words, you mean they come out messy, like in the wrong order, or you lose your thought halfway?
Exactly. To stumble over your words is when your mouth doesn't cooperate with your brain. You start a sentence, lose it, restart, and the whole thing sounds like a broken GPS. Maybe you've had this. You finally say something and it comes out completely different from what you planned.
But I think there's a fear even deeper than that, right?
Yeah. The worst fear is, how will they see me? What if I come across as strange, or annoying, or just too much?
Ah, so come across as that's the impression you give? How people perceive you?
Yes, to come across as something means that's how people see you, even if it's not what you meant. You try to be friendly but come across as nervous. You try to be funny but come across as awkward. And that gap between what you meant and how you came across, that's where the fear lives. It's like a little voice going, careful, don't be weird. Actually, just don't say anything.
And sometimes you're not even the one deciding whether to speak. Sometimes someone talks to you first, and you're completely unprepared. They catch you off guard.
Oh, that's a different kind of panic. When someone catches you off guard, they say something unexpected, and now you have to respond with zero preparation. Like you're looking at your phone in a waiting room and someone says, "Is it always this slow here?" And you hear yourself say, "Ha, yeah, slow, yes." 4 words, all the same energy.
But if you've ever caught someone off guard and they seemed lost, they weren't being rude. They were just having the same mental emergency meeting with less time.
And that's what makes all of this so funny, honestly. Everyone is having the same experience. Same awkward silence, same auditions, same fear, and nobody says anything.
It's like two people on opposite sides of a door, both waiting for the other one to knock.
That's exactly it. And the silence isn't going anywhere. But what changes is what happens when you decide, even once, to speak through it.
So that's the inside of the silence. But I want to talk about the other side, because sometimes people do speak, and what happens after can be really surprising.
It's true. And the funny thing is, I can remember almost every good conversation I've had with a stranger, like very clearly, because they're rare, and because they happened when I least expected them.
Tell me one.
Okay, last year I was on a flight, middle seat, already not great. And the person by the window was reading this book that I had just finished. And I sat there for maybe 20 minutes doing the whole thing we just talked about, rehearsing, editing, canceling. But something about being stuck in that seat for 3 hours made me think, you know what? Just say it.
And?
I said, "Hey, that book destroyed me." Just like that, no plan. And he looked at me and laughed and said, "I'm on the last chapter and I'm not okay." And suddenly we were talking about the book, then about other books, then about completely unrelated things. We talked for over an hour.
So you broke the ice with "that book destroyed me."
Not elegant, but it worked. And to break the ice just means to say or do the first thing that ends the awkward silence. It doesn't have to be clever, it just has to be real.
And honestly, sometimes the less polished it is, the better it works, because it feels human. Nobody connects with a perfect opening line. People connect with something honest.
That's what surprised me the most. I didn't plan it. I almost didn't say it. And it became one of the best conversations I had that whole year, with someone I never saw again.
I love that. And I think a lot of people assume you need a big reason to talk to a stranger. Like there has to be some natural excuse. You're both waiting, or something happened, or you have an obvious thing in common.
I mean, yeah, I do think that. I find it way easier when there's a context, a shared situation, something to point at.
See, I disagree a little. I think sometimes you can just talk. No reason, no excuse. You just strike up a conversation because you feel like it.
Strike up a conversation. So that's just starting one out of nowhere?
Yes, to strike up a conversation means to start talking with someone, often casually, often without a big reason. And I think that's actually a skill, not waiting for the perfect moment, just creating one.
That stresses me out a little, honestly. You just go?
I just go. Last month, I was sitting in a park, eating lunch, and there was a woman next to me with this incredible scarf. And I just said, "I love that scarf." That's it. 4 words. And she smiled so big. She told me her daughter gave it to her for her birthday. We talked for maybe 5 minutes about nothing important. Her daughter, the park, the weather. And when I left, she said, "Thank you for saying that. It made my afternoon."
Over a scarf?
Over a scarf. And I think that's what people miss sometimes. Small talk doesn't have to be deep to be meaningful. Sometimes "I like your scarf" changes someone's whole day. You don't know what someone is carrying.
That's a good point. I always feel like the conversation has to go somewhere, like it has to become something. But maybe it doesn't.
It doesn't. And sometimes it does go somewhere, and that's beautiful too. But the pressure of "this has to become a real conversation" is exactly what stops people from saying anything at all.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. The pressure is the trap.
And think about it. Maybe someone said something small to you once that you still carry. A compliment from a stranger, a random comment in a line, something that took them 2 seconds and stayed with you for months.
Actually, yes. There was a guy at the gym a while ago. I was struggling with something. Not the weights, just life. Having a rough week. And this guy I'd never spoken to looked at me and said, "Hey, you're doing better than you think." That was it. He put his headphones back on and walked away.
And you still remember it. That's so nice.
Word for word. Because somehow that stranger said exactly what I needed to hear at that moment. And he had no idea. We had never spoken before. He didn't know my name or my week or anything. But we just, I don't know. We hit it off in this tiny, weird way.
When you say "hit it off," you mean you connected quickly? Like it just clicked?
Yes, to hit it off means you connect with someone easily and naturally, almost right away. It usually describes something bigger, like a long conversation that flows perfectly. But I think you can hit it off with someone in 10 seconds too. Just a moment of real connection.
And those moments only exist because someone decided to put themselves out there. That guy at the gym didn't have to say anything. He chose to.
To put yourself out there, that means to take a social risk, right? To let yourself be seen or heard even when you're not sure how it'll go.
Exactly. Putting yourself out there is saying the thing even though it might land wrong. And it's small. It's not a speech. It's one sentence, one comment, one, "Hey, I like your scarf."
And I think what surprises me is that the moments I remember most are not the smooth ones. They're the messy ones. The ones where I almost didn't speak, where I stumbled a little, where it started awkward, and then something opened.
That's such an important word for this. Open up. Because sometimes small talk stays small, and that's completely fine. But sometimes something shifts, and the other person starts to open up, and they share something real. And suddenly it's not even a small talk anymore.
To open up means to start sharing something personal or honest, right? Like you let your guard down a little.
Yes, and it usually doesn't happen in the first sentence. It happens because someone broke the ice, and then the conversation kept going, and both people felt safe enough to go a little deeper. You can't force it, but you can create the space for it.
And that space only exists because somebody talked first.
Always. Every meaningful conversation with a stranger started with one slightly uncomfortable moment. Someone said something, and the other person said something back. That's it. That's the whole secret.
It's not really a secret, is it?
No, it's just hard to do. But once you do it, even once, you realize most people are waiting for the same thing you are. Permission to connect.
And what about you, listening right now? When was the last time a stranger made your day a little better? Or when was the last time you made theirs? Because it's usually smaller than you think. And it starts with just one sentence.
And before we say goodbye, let's slow down together for a moment. We used some really good words and expressions today, so let's take a calm little walk through them.
Yes, take a breath, relax your shoulders, and enjoy this. You already heard these words in the conversation. Now we're just making sure they stick.
First word. Awkward. When something is awkward, it's uncomfortable in a social way. Nobody knows exactly what to do, and everyone can feel it. It's that moment where the silence is too loud and the air feels heavy.
For example, the elevator ride was completely awkward. Neither of us said a word. Or I tried to make a joke, but it didn't land, and the silence after was so awkward. Repeat, awkward.
Awkward. Next one. Stumble over your words. When you stumble over your words, your mouth doesn't cooperate with your brain. The sentence comes out messy, broken, or in the wrong order. You know what you want to say, but it doesn't come out right.
For example, I was so nervous that I stumbled over my words and forgot what I was trying to say. Or she stumbled over her words at first, but then relaxed and the conversation flowed. Repeat. Stumble over your words.
Stumble over your words. Now, come across as. When you come across as something, that's the impression other people get from you. It's how they see you, which is not always what you intended.
For example, I was trying to be friendly, but I think I came across as nervous. Or he comes across as very confident, but he told me he's actually quite shy inside. Repeat. Come across as.
Come across as. Next, catch someone off guard. When you catch someone off guard, you surprise them with something they weren't expecting. They had no time to prepare.
For example, the question caught me off guard and I didn't know what to say. Or a stranger said something so kind that it completely caught me off guard. And that one connects to something we felt in today's episode. Sometimes the best moments are the ones you didn't see coming. Repeat. Catch someone off guard.
Catch someone off guard. Now a classic one. Break the ice. To break the ice means to do or say the first thing that ends the awkward silence. It's that first little crack in the tension that lets the conversation begin.
For example, he broke the ice with a silly joke and everyone relaxed. Or I didn't know how to break the ice, so I just said, I like your jacket. And it worked. Sometimes the simplest line does the job. Repeat. Break the ice.
Break the ice. Next, strike up a conversation. To strike up a conversation means to start talking with someone, often casually and often without a big reason. You just begin.
For example, she struck up a conversation with the person next to her on the train. Or, I'm not great at striking up conversations with strangers, but I'm getting better. Repeat. Strike up a conversation.
Strike up a conversation. Now, hit it off. When you hit it off with someone, you connect quickly and naturally. The conversation just flows, almost like you already knew each other.
For example, we hit it off immediately and talked for over an hour. Or, I didn't expect much, but we really hit it off. It was one of the best conversations of my trip. Repeat. Hit it off.
Hit it off. Next, open up. To open up means to start sharing something more personal or honest. You let your guard down and allow someone to see a more real part of you.
For example, after a few minutes, she started to open up about what she was going through. Or, it's hard to open up with strangers, but sometimes they surprise you. And I think that's what makes some conversations unforgettable. That moment when someone decides to open up. Repeat. Open up.
Open up. And our last one, put yourself out there. To put yourself out there means to take a small social risk. You say the thing, you start the conversation, you let yourself be seen, even when you're not sure how it'll go.
For example, I decided to put myself out there and say hi even though I was nervous. Or, putting yourself out there doesn't mean being perfect, it just means trying. And that might be the one sentence to carry from this whole episode. Repeat. Put yourself out there.
Put yourself out there.
You did great today. You didn't just listen to a podcast. You walked through every awkward silence and every small brave moment with us.
And we'd really love to hear from you. When was the last time you talked to a stranger and something good came out of it? Or when did you almost say something but stayed quiet? Tell us that story in the comments. Even one sentence is enough.
And if you want a tiny challenge this week, next time you're in one of those silent moments, just notice what your brain does. And if you feel like it, try one sentence. It doesn't have to be smooth, it just has to be real.
And if you enjoyed this episode, please hit like and subscribe. It really helps more people find us.
Be kind to yourself this week. And maybe be kind to a stranger too.
This is Sophia.
And this is James, and you've been listening to Easy English Conversation. Bye!